Welcome to the OFX podcast. I'm Dave Claxton, and along with me, as always, is the terror of the Thanksgiving turkey trot, Bethany McChesney. And this episode is brought to you by Duonamic, creator of the door frame pull-up things, which are amazing. I did like a Murph style workout with one the other day. It's really fun. And our new sponsor, Designateddrinks.ca, which, all right, so I had some like athletic brew stuff, right? That they have the what's that one? Upside Down, and this one was the Run Wild, right? So that's their mainstays, and they're pretty good. I still like the light one better. They don't have that one, but just so that you know, like I'm not like yay everything. Okay, so Libra. They have a lager and stuff, which I tried, which I liked. That was pretty good. But this is the pumpkin spice ale.
No go.
No, it's just a no. Unless
Yeah.
you're one of those people who wants like pumpkin spice on everything this time of the year, and like, which is cool. That's your thing. I don't care. No, just no.
No go. Yeah.
Honest reviews, no. I give it a no out of 10.
Some things just shouldn't be mixed.
Yeah, pumpkin spice and beer, no. I like beer that tastes like beer, even when it's non-alcoholic beer. So,
Yeah. Keep your pumpkin spice for your coffee.
exactly. Well, I don't even drink that, but yeah, I'll take your word for it. Go ahead. Yeah, have that. I'm fine with it. Pumpkin pies, whatever. Yeah. So we're not going to be too long today because we got an interview to follow with David Magida. Great. And I got to sit down and have a good chat with him. That was awesome. A lot of fun. There's a couple of things though I wanted to talk to you about. So Spartan has announced that in Dubai for a world championship, they're going to have a 3-person relay, team relay, co-ed. And it'll be a 1K loop, and each person will do 1 lap of it. I'm liking that.
It sounds very exciting.
Sounds very exciting. Very good. I just don't want to get disappointed here. That's the thing. I don't want to get my hopes up. But the first thing that enters my mind, okay, so first thing was like, cool, that's great. 3K relay, that's going to be fast, going to be exciting. I think it's going to be like 10 obstacles per 1K, like very dense. Great. And if it's in Dubai, it's probably going to be super fast because it's going to be on probably really flat running. I don't think they'll put it in a deep sand area. Anyway, then the first thing that entered my mind is, if you're setting this up, why not do Spartan Cross too?
Right. Because that sounds like the perfect setup for it.
It is the setup for it. So I've commented that on a couple of comments, and some of the Spartan responses have been like encouraging that perhaps they're thinking of that. Maybe they'll do a test. I don't know. And I don't have any inside information on this. This is just me. I did the same thing in the Spartan Canada. Somebody else said the same thing, and Spartan Canada put like a winky face or something like that. Like maybe this is something we'll see. I'm very much hope so, because that could totally change some of my race goals. Would be all about that. A 3K super obstacle dense multi-lap. Oh, be great.
Yeah. So this means then they're going to have to move some obstacles into this 1K loop after the Saturday championship races.
Does it? Because
you hope that they would move some obstacles to create an obstacle dense 1K loop.
I understand, but if you're creating and building the course in such a way, and I looked at this, and this is just briefly, they're not going to have a Spartan Cross at Blue Mountain, so don't get in your head when I say this. But I looked at the map, and they always have that gauntlet near the end, right?
Right.
And in certain situations, so you put that gauntlet, there was like 10 obstacles, blah, 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 right down in the bottom. And if you build your course with that in mind, you can go out and back in and out and back in kind of thing, and set up so that you can then cut it into a 1K course. It is doable where you don't have to move it. It just takes a lot of planning, and you have to have a good site. Like the first couple times they do it would probably be hard, but then they'd get their head wrapped around it, and you could go from there, I think.
Yeah. So then with it being co-ed now, so we're talking there's carries and hoists. So then it's all just set up that it could be co-ed. So if you're female or you're male, or is everybody doing the same weights coming in?
I think they probably would have to set up so that you get a female and the male being the voice. And I'm just guessing. I'm assuming that because I do believe, like, say, like the Herc hoist will be in it. I don't think they're going to move that. It's just going to be where it is, and they'll build around it. So I think it'll be set up like that. I mean, in right now, how much? I guess like the carries and things like that. So they do have a few that are different weights for different sexes, but we'll see. It's a good question to ask, but I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm just excited about it though. I think it puts a new wrinkle on it. I love, like we all know, the team stuff is the most fun.
Yeah, and like everybody who's gone to these champions type races, like OCRWC, you go and you race your championship races, 3K, 15, and then the team races are honestly the most memorable and the biggest highlights of your weekend, really. And it's kind of the add-on.
Yeah.
So you go and you race your races, and then everything left in your legs is for the team stuff. Like you don't and you kind of, if there's ways, people also finagle doing multiple team races.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, let's get a little bit extra out of this trip, out of the location that we're at, like run it a little bit more and get a little bit more obstacle experience. So it just adds a little bit more to your weekend. And honestly, in any times that I've done team races, it is the most exciting and most fun moments of the entire weekend. So I love that they're doing this.
So you said something that actually brought up something I wasn't even thinking about, but I wanted to talk about it probably another time, and I forgot. So you just said as an add-on for the weekend, right?
Yeah.
And that's true. It does get treated that way, and same with the team relay at OCRWC. And then I thought about, they said with the same thing I'm sure people say with the 100-meter. It's a nice add-on.
Yeah.
These are only add-ons in these pro big races, and considered so because there's not the big prize money. If you put the big prize money, it's no longer an add-on. It's now a big deal race. And that's what I keep thinking, that what everybody says, the 100-meter, it's just a nice little what side thing or whatever. It is whatever. If you make that thing worth what the other races are, it's not a side thing anymore. It's the legit thing. And same with the team race. Like everybody loves the team race. It's a lot of fun. But if you start putting up good cash for that race, people are going to take it serious. You're going to get people who are specializing in it. And that would, I think. So only a side thing until the cash is there, and then it'll be a real deal thing.
Yeah. But then I also really appreciate then when, especially at a world championship, if you're going to put prize money and podiums, make it country specific.
Yeah. And I like that. I know that they've tried that with OCRWC. They did it, was it in 2017 Spartan Worlds where they did it? And I think because I remember because the Canadians one, it was like Austin, Sam, and Ryan, one for the men, and then I don't remember for the women who it was.
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I
either.
was this was like my first race ever. So like I didn't know
No,
anybody.
so this was the Spartan one. This was Spartan, not
Oh, for
OCRWC.
Spartan. Oh, okay.
Because I
Oh,
remember.
so we had Faye, Austin, and was it Mick?
No. So for the one, like I said, for the men was Austin, Sam, and Ryan.
Yeah.
And they wore the crop tops. And then I can't remember the women, but you got to guess it was probably Lindsay, Faye, and
Jess Lemon.
there you go. Jess Lemon, Amanda Nadeau.
Yeah.
Somebody. We really should know that. That's something we should know. I'm going to edit that out. No, I'm not. It's too much work.
I think it was Jess Lemon.
It could be. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, so I mean, to see that, and that's where they're going again. They're bringing that back, and that's great. I really hope that they have enough to get good quality entries. There's no qualification for it, so anybody there can go in it. I don't know if they're going to make the teams be country oriented, or they're just going to say, let's just get enough teams in so we have a good race. So we'll see. But I'm very excited about it, and it's going to be really good for a live stream.
Yes.
Because that'll be condensed and awesome. And I look forward to watching that. Yeah, unless they want to pay me, and then I look forward to commentating on them. But no, I don't think I'm on the short. Oh, I might be on the short list for that, but I'm not on the immediate list for that. maybe the backup list. We'll see. Couple other things. I reshared a story where some of the CrossFit events have not been paying out. So the first thing I want to make clear, because CrossFit Canada messaged me and they said these events that have done this are not CrossFit affiliates. So they're not CrossFit games. They're adjacent to CrossFit, right? So like they're not put on by CrossFit, the organization itself. They're put on by someone else. So just to make
Like
that distinction.
Rogue?
Exactly. It wasn't Rogue, but yeah, this was the one in particular was Can West. And
Okay.
like so he just wanted to say, and I'm making it clear that that is not like CrossFit themselves did not put on an event and did not pay out. It was somebody else put on a CrossFit style event, so
Okay.
yeah. So just to make clear. So anyway, yeah, they struggled to pay out, and I guess you basically, essentially, they just didn't get the, the spectators they thought they would, the sponsorship they thought they would, and it is what it is. And they put up some hefty prize money, and they just could not follow through. Now I think they're still saying they're going to try to, but is that a disturbing thing for the sport, or is that more of a state on the current economy and comeback from COVID?
Yeah, so I'm going to speak from a gym owner's perspective, and some of that is honestly just the state of the fitness, racing, gym world, where I think we all just kind of assumed that at this point things would be back on the upswing and everybody would kind of be back to their gyms, back to like the racing scene, and people would be excited to come back. And I've had hundreds of conversations about maybe why things haven't happened that way. Mental wellness has played a big part in that, with people's uh, um, just delay in coming back to things. And so I think when things were planned, maybe, I don't know, 3, 4, 6 months ago, we just had these assumptions that all of this stuff in this world would be back to how it was around this time, because typically the fall is a great season for the fitness world and for competitions, and it just hasn't been that way. You talk to gym owners and race directors, and our numbers are just not what we had expected them to be. So I think that's what that is a reflection of. And it's unfortunate when you live in this world and you have a business in this world, but I believe that's what it is. So I'm sad to hear that that's kind of why that they haven't been able to pay their athletes. So yeah, I think that's what it is.
I think you're I think you're probably right. And CrossFit doesn't seem as a movement to be losing any momentum, which I think is great.
Mhm.
So that would make logical sense. And I think especially with spectators, because it's just so hard to get there right now. Like flights and traveling and gas is all so expensive to take
Yeah.
any, and hotels are bloody through the roof. They have some
Well,
of them
and
seem to
that's
have come
kind
down
of
a
the
little bit.
add-on to all of this too, when it comes to the races and everything, is it's not just people lacking motivation to be back in the gym and back to signing up to events. Is now we're also looking at people going to the events, and then when you tack on things like the gas prices going up and everyone trying to recover from COVID. So everything that has to do with the hotel and tourism industry has also jacked up their prices to try to recover from the last 2 years. So all of that is kind of the add-on to all of these business that run fitness events kind of suffering. So yeah, that's like the next level of things suffering.
I mean, we just talked about this earlier tonight. There's the other thing too is freaking this is aside from the CrossFit thing, races are so bloody expensive. Like races are through the roof expensive. I went and I looked because I'm going to go to Hyrox Chicago, and it's like $200 US for a solo Hyrox. I'm like, wow, that's a lot. Like I know and I'm not saying it's a ripoff. I know that they put a lot into the product, and it's expensive to set up, and it is what it is. But I mean, like when we're going to Chicago, and you're thinking, we're 3 nights there. You're the gas to get there and back. You're $200 per race for two people. Like this is more than $1,000 weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
Yeah, and when I did a Hyrox, so it'll be 3 years ago when you do Hyrox in 2023, it would have been like the registration would have been 2/3 of that cost.
yeah, yeah,
So again, businesses are trying to find that sweet spot of where do we start to lose participants based on price, and where can we kind of push that barrier of entrance fees to make a profit. And again, they're also trying to survive
yeah.
after 2.5 years of lost registration fees. So they're trying to kind of bump it up a little bit because, $10-20 on a registration fee makes a significant difference
Oh
when
yeah.
you're having 800 plus participants. So we're like, everyone's just trying to recover. But yeah, you're looking at like $200 for a race is a significant chunk of money.
But you know what? Maybe they're right and I'm wrong though, because New York they had their best attendance for a North American race yet. And that's a great sign. That's really good. I'm glad to see it. Um, I just know for me personally, like that is getting up there in price, and that's a lot. Like, I mean, it's still going to do them, but it won't be three or four, right? It might just be
Yeah.
one or maybe two, right?
Well,
Like
but when
it's
you're like looking at a race like New York, though, they could pull just from people within driving distance
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah,
that venue,
yeah, yeah.
which
That's true.
I mean, we're not talking about a Spartan race where people have to drive and fly and pay hotels.
And it's not just driving distance. It's train, subway, like
Yeah.
that area, right? The mass transit in that area is so much better than what. Now, again, you're not getting it to Spartan races, but even what we're used to in Toronto, like the transit system is so much better that you're absolutely right. They could easily pull from there, and you know, hopefully they continue to get good numbers. I want them to get good numbers. I want Hyrox to stick around. I want Hyrox to do really well. I want Deka to do really well. Deka in my mind is still a great value. That's just me. And
Yeah.
RX1, like I said, RX1, great value there. Possibly the best value for your money. We'll just say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think just with the cost of everything, and going back to CrossFit, like everybody's hurting, everybody's trying their best, but hopefully those athletes get paid.
Yeah.
And I will say that it does put, I guess it's a gamble, and I guess that's the way they do it. But man, make sure you got the prize money before you promise it, or tell the athletes it's you know percentage of gate or something. I don't know, some way, because
Yeah, maybe in these times that might be a safe strategy. I don't know. It's kind of it's probably things they haven't really had to deal with before. So,
yeah,
but I like that percentage of
yeah,
gate fees or something. Mhm.
be like North of Seven and Sylvie and just give it to you right on the podium. Be done.
Just
That's
cash in an envelope.
yeah, sorry. Maybe a nice suitcase, big silver one pops up. The briefcase deal.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or like this term also is used in business often, under promise and over perform. So,
Over
we say,
deliver.
yeah, over deliver. So, say, at least this much, and like lowball it. And then if you make enough, give them a little bit more, then people are happy.
We do that at work, where
Yeah.
where they'll ask me like, "Can you have this done by the end of today?" And I'll be like, "No way, not a chance," knowing full well that I'll probably have it done in an hour and a half. But then you get it done, and everybody's happy.
Right.
And
Under promise.
that's right. And if you don't get it done, everybody's like, "Okay, cool. Well, you said you wouldn't get it done today. You said it'd be done tomorrow, so that's great." And that way
Right.
you also account for when screw ups happen. And sometimes the world throws you a curveball and you got to deal with it. So absolutely right. Under promise, or yeah, under promise, over deliver, or
Yep.
overperform, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
That said, we already talked longer than we were supposed to. So we're gonna get on to my interview with David Magida, coming off his win at Hyrox, New York. And yeah, he's got lots to say, and maybe a little trash talk for Brakken on that one. Anyway, David Magida.
Oh, almost nailed it. Nailed it. I literally, it says recording in progress, and instead of hitting got it, I hit leave meeting. So this is what happens when you've got little baby dropped off. I know. Look at this little critter. Look at her.
Oh,
Are they can't see, can they?
yeah, they can. Yeah, yeah, we'll put it on YouTube.
Oh, hi.
Or we can
This
not
is
events, you know.
this is Nora K, aka Pet, aka my child.
Mini Magida.
Yeah, Mini Magida.
Oh, that's awesome. You know what? We had an inordinate number of babies on this podcast for some reason. It just happens a lot.
Man, listen, if you have a baby, there's like you got to put them somewhere.
I think honestly, and this may sound like horrible parenting, but that's normal for me. I think the first night I had my daughter, or maybe the second night, we might have went to the bar. Just like
So, like, was it a bar or was it a restaurant that served
it's
drinks?
like a
Because
pub, like a British pub.
yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that like I take my kid to breweries and
Yes.
like I take like I don't think it's irresponsible if as long as you aren't drinking and driving. So
No. So I mean,
we have like 3 breweries within walking distance of the house. So we'll like push the stroller over there and then go have a few and then push it home. Or we'll like finish a run. We'll like finish a run with the running stroller at a brewery. Like,
and I was
let's go.
like
Not
24
too
too,
bad.
right? I was like 24, so you hung out at the bar at the time, right? So I was like, and it was like one of those 7 at night, 6:30 at night. Here's the baby, and then everybody sees. So it wasn't that bad. I maybe make it sound worse than this, but gotta
Dude,
keep
I'm
it.
36. Is it like is there a point where you've hit like too old to take a baby to the bar? Or
No,
is
it's
it
when you're
just-
too old to hang out at the bar all the time.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, it happens,
We
man.
do a little too much of that. I mean, we go to the bar a lot, but
Bars are
it's something
different
I-
though. It's like you say, there's a pub, like a brewery, a pub, a restaurant, and then there's like the club bar, and that's
yeah. We're not clubbing, and we're
No.
not going to the kind of bar that like doesn't serve food.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not going to that. Not that spot.
Oons, 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 oons.
There's none of that, man. My Miami days are over. Right. So
All right. So you don't got a lot of time. So I wanted to start with something, and we'll get that like Hyrox, and I got the Deka shirt on, even though I just came from work and had it on work, but that's okay. I got like lots of that, but I wanted to get into something with you first about rules. The rules, because recently I did listen to Race Brain, and those guys are doing an awesome job. And Brakken went through a whole story about a stadium where he crossed the line first, and then you were like the first guy to cross the line. It didn't go off course, and we heard his side, and then I was just listening on the way home to the next one. So I want to hear your side of what happened in that race, and then I'll tell you what I think ruling.
Brakken and I actually have a very distinctly different memory of what happened in that race. In Bracken's head, he and Hunter were like minutes ahead of everyone else the whole race, but the actual race went down as follows. Hunter and Brakken were leading 1-2. Isaiah Vidal and I were racing behind them maybe 10 to 15 seconds at most. Uh-oh. When we finished the sandbag carry, I think what happened was they exited outside the tape and we exited inside the tape and continued running. So for Hunter and Brakken, they hit a place with like the course, quote unquote, that they were running with. I don't think they were even on the course at that point. They hit like closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
And we never saw any doors of any kind. There were no closed doors. There were no open doors. We continued running. I think we ran back like into the bleachers to run like more in the stands. And all I know is that Isaiah and I are under the impression that we are racing each other for third place.
Yeah.
And we cross the finish line. The course goes down onto the main field, and then it comes like you barbed wire crawl to the main field. You throw a football that no one could hit because the winds were gusting and the ball was made out of like styrofoam. And anyway, you then exit the stadium. It's one of the only stadium races I've ever seen where you run out onto like a practice field that they have in the exterior of Raymond James Stadium, and you do like rolling mud pits, and there was a jerry can carry, except it was like the ammo containers, really heavy ammo containers. And then we ripped around the corner, and you had a rope climb, like the old school ones where they like dug deep into the field and filled it with water, and you like jumped into the water. And Brakken was, oh, sorry, not Brakken. And Isaiah somehow had gotten away from me. And he crosses in what we realized partway into this that there was no one in front of us.
Yeah.
And so we're like, oh shit, like we're first and second. And we cross the finish line. Isaiah is literally marked as first place. They've already disqualified Hunter and Brakken when they get there. They're like, you guys didn't hit like half these checkpoints. Like, you're disqualified. Because they're like literally their timing chips did knock over a bunch of spots.
Yeah.
And so they look to us and they go, Isaiah, you're first. Magida, you're second. Isaiah, you get $2,000. Magida, you get $1,200. Congratulations. And I don't remember who limped in third, but it was a very sizable gap back to the next person. And anyway, Hunter starts tripping immediately. And that was the year that he was affectionately referred to as Joe's poodle. And Joe DeSena happens to be there. And Joe is like, well, you know, Hunter probably should have won that race or something. And I was like, well, Joe, like, I won this. I mean, I won my money fair and square. Like, we ran the whole race. They did it. There is no precedent ever in the sport for like restarting the race. But his decision is, we'll restart the race from the point where they got lost, which is about halfway, and we'll race it out again. So we race it out again. And I'm confident that in this short course, I've got a shot to win the whole damn thing. But we get down to the field, which has the football throw instead of a spear, into the barbed wire crawl, and everyone misses except Isaiah, whose ball goes straight sideways because of the wind. And like, he aims for, like, you throw it to like a trash can that's like tilted towards you. He throws it to the one that's straight in front of him. It blows like 8 trash cans down and goes into one of those ones, just like pure dumb luck by like the wind gust. And because it was windy in there. It just was. I know we're in a stadium, but it was. And he takes off. We all are doing burpees. It's a burpee off. Hunter exits before me. And then Brakken and I exit basically together. We get out of the barbed wire together. We get through the Herc hoist together. I'm ahead of him after the hoist. He passes me after the jerry can carry. And then we enter the rope climb. He jumps into the water and starts climbing up. I jumped from the side and jumped to the rope without entering the water, climbed up, and then he drops from the rope. I dropped in front of him. I remember this distinctly because I cut him off his route out of the water by dropping it in front of him. And then we got out of the water basically together with 150 meters left, and he just out-sprinted. He literally turns to me and goes, sorry, Magida. And he out-sprinted me over the slip wall and beat me by like a second or two. And I got $0. He got $800 for that. So either way, I lost $1,200 and then I lost $800. And it was a very heartbreaking day.
I think, and this is why I brought this up, because I'm a rule guy. I love the rules and I follow the rules and I like the rule book and I like to follow it. And to me, and this is why I'm going to back you, because, you know, they're on Race Brain. They're all, you know, they're a team, and I love all those guys. They're great, but, you know, here it is. They went off course, which means they need to come back onto course at the point where they left course and then finish the race. And if they cross the finish line before doing so, they're disqualified. That's simple rules. So ergo, there should never have been all this extra stuff going on. But I thought it was very interesting.
I'd also add that I am notorious for getting lost in races. Like, there was a stretch in like 2012 to 2015 where I got lost in like 7 races. And you get lost, you're just shit out of luck. It's just the deal. It's just the deal. Like, yes, the courses were not marked well back in the day. Like, it's true. But they were not marked well for everybody, not just for the people in the lead. And, you know, we're all running fast. We're all not seeing everything clearly. So, my 2 cents.
I'm with you. Isaiah should have won. You should have been second. And whoever left home third should have been third. That's my official.
And Isaiah's gotten the best of me in like 3 of these, which is so annoying because I just don't think he could ever beat me in another one of these races right now. But, you know,
he's lost those running legs. I don't think he's got the running legs.
Yeah. He used to be good at stadiums, though. He used to be really good.
Yeah. He was great and it's super competitive. So I'm going to tell you a story from my past, from my racing experience. And I don't think I've ever talked about this online. I've mentioned it to like a few friends and stuff. We talked about it, but I went out to Montreal for a platinum rig race, 200-meter course. I made the final, right? Great course, man. It's awesome. I got a whole video of the thing. So great course, made the final. I go out, me and this other guy, there was 4 of us in the final. The 2 guys get bogged down, stuck at obstacles because it's also raining. It's horrible weather. So we go through the whole thing. We get to a heavy carry portion. Guy just kicks it down and blows away from me. Absolutely flies away from me. But it gasses him. So then I start picking up. We get to a set of spinning monkey bars, rolling monkey bars. He fails it. I pass him. I keep going. And then I lose sight of him at that point because I'm ahead. I'm trying to get to the end. I go like 3-4 more obstacles, and I look back, and he's nowhere to be seen. He's still stuck on those monkey bars. So I let off the gas, go through everything, finish the race, walk across, wait, go back, cheer him on to get him through. He goes through. So I win, right? They come to us and tell us, both of us, the other two guys didn't even finish the course because it was raining so bad they couldn't get through the obstacles. Both of us missed an obstacle, a Herc hoist that was there. And we said, okay. So they decide you're going to have to, rather than just leave it the way it is, because we both missed the same obstacle, but we both ran the same race, rather than leave it the way it is or do something or DQ us both and give it to one of the other guys or whatever, they decide we're going to take you back to the finish line or the start line, and we're going to make you run 3 random obstacles, which is funny because it was only 3 obstacles he was faster than me on were the 3 that they picked. And and that'll be for first place. And that'll be for first place. And I'm like, seriously?
So technically, you guys both just should have been DQ'd.
Oh, yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, but we were the only 2 that finished.
Oh, well, then you have a real quandary on your hands there.
That's right. So then they went back and did that. And the thing was, too, that I crossed the finish line 10 minutes ahead of him on a 200-meter course. He was stuck that long, right? So then we go through, and he does beat me on that tiebreaker thing they decided out of nowhere to do by like a quarter of a second. And so he gets first, I get second. I'm like, I've always been a bit of a craw on that one, but at the same time, there was no rule book, so we couldn't refer to anything. But
not a huge fan of reruns, but I also don't know what you could have done. So
no. I think since we both missed the same obstacle, should have just stood, and no one else completed it. So that was my take. But I've never talked about that online, so bit of a sour issue.
I'm your therapist,
Yeah, there you go.
Let it go.
All right. Another thing with the rules, and this goes back, we'll talk Hyrox. Just came back from New York Hyrox. Congratulations. Awesome. Going there was supposed to be an outside race with the running. What did you think going into that? Because, I'm assuming you're going there trying to set a good time for the U.S. North American championships.
Yeah, so, I've been hurt, and this was like going to be my comeback race. So I was just kind of I wanted to use it as a fitness test more than anything. I wasn't expecting to run like a particularly stellar time. But I also thought, like, I'm going to surprise myself because the type of training I've been doing, I think, really suits Hyrox particularly. And, like, just being able to grind for, like, an hour actually was, like, really ready for that. And so rolling in there, I was stressing out about the outdoor race. Like, I was looking, not just that it was outdoors. Like, I was like, I can handle that it's outdoors. But it was like, shoes are going to be wet. And then you're going to be trying to, like, push the sled. And, like, I've had treadmilling shoes at a sled before. Like, twice in Orlando where I was able to get past it and win, and in Chicago where I withdrew. I definitely was stressed about that. And then I was stressed about like the run course that they mapped out had like ramps running down stairs, like out to a field. And then you're like, I don't know if it was a field, but you're running outside, and then you were hairpin turning like 3 times per lap, and it was still a 2-lap course. So you had like 6 hairpin turns, and I was like, this is nuts. Like, this is easily the slowest course that's ever been designed. So I was like looking at like my running's going to be at least 2 minutes slow on this. And like, even if it's the same exact distance, like even just having 4 laps versus 2 is significantly slower. Significantly. Like, you're losing probably 4 seconds, at least, let's call it 2.5 to 3 seconds per lap, which means over the course of 1,000 meters, you might be losing 10 or 12 seconds. And then you multiply that by 8, like, dramatic. And when I'm talking about, so like, even though they moved it inside, and I was stoked that they moved it inside, I was like, damn it, like, this is going to keep me from cracking 60. And I think I was ready to run in the low 59s, believe it or not. So especially with how I pushed the sled. And so, I was bummed about it, but I also was like, okay, that's good enough for US champs. It probably isn't good enough to qualify for Worlds, but maybe. Last year it would have been good enough to qualify for Worlds, 60 minutes and 19 seconds. So, we'll hold our breath. So far, the Leipzig race was not faster. So, okay, like maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe the European courses got harder. Like maybe they're actually running the full distance and pushing the same sleds as us now. Like who friggin' knows?
Well, I looked at it and I said, when I first saw the course, when I first saw the outside, I saw the exact same thing. I'm like, if this is, and I mean, not everybody can make it to a ton of races. If this is your one chance to try to qualify for whatever division, age group, elite, whatever, you just got boned because that course is going to be excessively slow. And this is why I don't like the qualifying system, and I've been through it tons. But it was completely unfair. Now, the inside was better, but like you say, still 4 laps. So you essentially ran a Hyrox on a Deka course.
Yes, it was. And so it really like a lot of turning and decelerating into the turn, reaccelerating out of the turn, and also like take the same number of people that you were going to have on a 500-meter track and put them on a 250-meter track and be like, have at it. And so, and really it's actually like a 240-meter track because then there was an extra stretch of running. So, or 230. It's nuts. It was so tight. It was like tighter than a Deka track. And cramming all those bodies in, and they're not running in the outside lane. So you're weaving. Like, go back and watch the footage of me. I'm not just weaving through people. I'm threading the needle in like 6-inch gaps between people and shoving people out of the way. And like one time a girl cut in front of me and I had to come to a complete stop to not run her over. And just, it was gnarly, man. Look, the rock zone was fast, but they made up for it by the runs themselves were also more than 1,000. The runs were like 1,100, maybe 1080, 1090. They were long. Like I was guesstimating at least 17 seconds to 20 seconds long per lap or per 1,000. So normally I come through around at around 345 on 1,000 there, and give or take, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. But I was coming through like 402. I was like, damn, and I'm running hard. Like, and I know I'm running hard, and I confirmed this with a few people. So, I think it makes sense. Like they have to stretch it to make it the correct amount of meters. And this is one thing that they started doing last year at the end of the year. Every course is 8,700 meters precisely. Yeah. However, and I say however, for a reason. That is rock zone and run course is 8,700 meters. Now, if you have a race that has 15 people a wave, your zones themselves may be smaller than a course in the UK with 50 people per wave. 43 is what I had in London last year, where you're running past sleds like forever. And that's not counted in the distance. So something to keep in mind. Double the amount of sleds, double the amount of rowers, double the amount of skiers. You're running extra distance with all of these things. And in a qualifier like Hyrox, where when it came down to like, they were literally like 5 guys within like 10 seconds of each other to make the qualifiers at the end, this absolutely matters.
Yeah. And this is where I brought up, and I pitched this idea to Hyrox in a Mintra 4 qualification system. And I mean, they've gone back, they've modified it a little bit where now you're going to be top 3 in Europe championships, top 3 in North American championships to get in, but then it goes back to the time base after that. And I was of the opinion, first I pitched that it should be 3 championships, 1 for the UK because they got so many people racing, 1 for Europe and 1 for North America. People poked holes in that. I'm like, okay, I accept that. But I think now if you did this, I think it'd be super exciting. And I think I sent a message to you, but like, do North American okay, so first off, 2 champions provisionals. So like the past 2 years champions get in. They're in there. So that leaves 13 people.
I like that.
Then
I like that.
Yeah.
I actually just increase the number from 13 also. Like from 15. We don't have to stay at 15.
Yeah.
Go on.
But I'm saying if you're doing 15, so you got your 2 champions in, that leaves 13 left. Top 5 from North American get in. Top 5 from European championships get in. And then you have one last race. Top 3, your podium from that race, fill that last 3 spots. Super exciting. Makes that last race really exciting.
I love that. Aside from that, like you are now requiring people to fly abroad. Mm-hmm. So that is like obviously the rub in that. I think there are some safe ways to do this, a few different ways. One way that I think I agree with you, top 5 at a continental championship race makes a lot of sense. That means you showed up in the biggest stage and you showed up when it mattered, right? I like that.
Yeah.
I also think there's something to be said about every course is different. Are you a fucking gamer? Yeah. And if you win a race, I think you should be in. I don't think they should put a cap on the number of people, as opposed with the exception of like look, if Toby goes out and wins 6 races to keep people from qualifying, like, so be it. Like, that's fine. I'm cool with that. But like, you're talking to a guy, I've won 3 of like the 8 Hyroxes I've done. And I finished second in a handful of the other ones.
Yep.
In fact, I've only missed an actual podiums go 5 deep at championship races. I've only actually missed a podium in the race that I did not finish. I have podiumed every race I've done. Everybody at World Championships last year was aware that I needed to be in that race, but they were so dead set on we're doing 15 and we're doing only time that this is how we ended up in this situation. And so like I said, like if you look at Meb Kevlezi.
Yep.
You know Meb, marathoner?
Yeah.
If you had Meb and he had to do a time-based qualifier for the Olympics, he would never have made the Olympics. But Meb is a gamer. And so when shit gets real, Meb finds a way to win ugly, slow races. That's how Meb wins Boston, right? But this is what I'm talking about. What is more important? That you can time trial one good race at some point in the year, or that you come in and beat everyone when it matters? And I just feel like they'll be continuing to tweak this system. And Rich said, well, what if you have a slow winner? And I said, this is like people complaining that like some people are getting welfare that don't deserve it. Like, isn't it so much better that like everyone who needs it gets it than that? And like, so what? Someone fucking cheats the system. Who cares? Like, in the grand scheme of things, way more people who need it are being taken care of, and that's what matters. Let's go with the same thing right now. Isn't it better that the fastest racers get in, the people who kick ass all season long get in, and don't have a situation like last year where Maastricht had like 9 qualifiers that booted everybody out because one course was really fast?
Yeah, I like that too. And when you put it that way, it's like, I don't care if some people get in that don't deserve to get in.
Yeah, totally.
As long as the people who do deserve to get in. Like the fact
like,
that
because people are going to get in that don't deserve it anyways.
Yeah.
Look at the championships last year. Like a bunch of guys were running like in the 110 range. Like they don't deserve to be there, but they still got to be there.
Yeah. And then it should be the other guy. And then and without the dropouts, Rich Ryan would not have been in it and obviously deserved to be there. You know, like Christopher Glosky would not have been in it, you know, like shit like that. So I don't mind that. I don't mind that, putting something in there for race winners, you know. Maybe that's a better idea than a last chance qualifier or something like that.
Well, so like, why does it matter? Why can't it be 25? Like if you have 40 Hyrox races around the globe, like, is it a big deal if there's 40 people in the heat? There are 50 people per heat in Birmingham this coming weekend. Why not just do 50? Last year at the Elite, or 2021 at the Elite 20, they called it. They ended up having like 38 or 36 male and female combined racers show up for it, and they ran them all in the same wave. So they clearly have enough equipment to get this thing done. So like, and just separate the men from the women. Like the excuse I kept hearing was, well, we only have 15 lanes. And I was like, you have 30 lanes. You have 30 lanes. You're just choosing not to use them. And you're choosing to ruin the broadcast product as a result. So yeah, I mean, let's not even get into that. Like, you're already taking away some of the competition. Now you're going to take the broadcast and split your resources over 2 races. And now both the fans who are watching can't keep up with it, and the people at home can't keep up with it. Like the camera people can't keep up with it.
No, it's and that's good. And I think that was the only reason I could think of why they would want to limit it to 15 is for potential future coverage, thinking that would be better. But at this time, that's not there. They're not doing it. Throw them in there. And God, as someone who has commentated 2, 3, I don't know how many of these races now, separate the men and the women. Just please.
No, my first Hyrox, they did that. It was the Invitational.
It was I commented that. It was awesome.
I remember that. And I was out there like watching the women's race, like screaming and cheering and having a blast. And then the whole herd of people move from sled push over to sled pull. And so every station was a mob of fans like hanging over the rails. Like it was so awesome. The energy was unbelievable. And then you go and you do the same thing and you split that audience over 2 courses. Some people want to watch the women, some people want to watch the men. And it just doesn't have the same power. Now, the way Hyrox set up the bleachers and they like brought everybody in and had it be the main show, like, yes, at a world championship, you were able to get like all these people to come in late at night and watch this, but still it was split. Like the viewing experience, having watched it from the stands begrudgingly, very begrudgingly, I had a really good time watching it. I just was very pissed off the whole time. Watching people like drop out of the race and watching people like run very slowly. But it was a really good viewing experience, but would have been enhanced significantly by separating those races again. Would have been so good.
And it made a great difference, that kind of thing, in person. But as far as a stream or a live feed, it was still the same difficulty to deal with. Because again, it was still men and women going at the same time and splitting your attention and not being able to focus what you wanted to do. And I think even if, so right now, most races, they have a dude, I think it's usually Graham, runs around. He was in New York. He followed you guys, right? Did that. And I mean, that's cool. He does a good job.
He does a pretty good job.
Yeah, for a
like
single,
how limited it is. Yeah,
for a single dude Instagram live feed, he does great. You know, he's athletic, he can keep up. But even then, he was following the women, then he had to deviate away and get back and forth and do two things at once. And
yeah, I mean, you missed the sled push in the men's race because they had to show the wall balls of the women's finish. Like
exactly.
And they did, he made the right call.
Yes.
But the viewing experience was taken away. So I think you have to show that women's finish. I mean,
yes,
it would be awful. Also from like a PR standpoint.
Oh yeah.
We had to cut away from the women's race because the men are starting. Like
especially the women are about to cross the finish line. Let's see the start. Yeah, that would be bad. But that's a decision that Graham shouldn't have had to make, because they should have just waited for the men to be done. And this is where, you know, we tip the hat to Deka. Deka does this all the time. You know, men go, they wait for the clear, women go, and it works better that way.
Plus, clearing the course is a good thing for the race. It's so much better. Guys can race more tactically if they're not like dodging through 150 other people out there.
Yeah. And that's something that like you had to deal with in New York, but people in the UK, like in London and stuff, where they've had 4,000 people at the event, have had to deal with all last year because they're weaving in and out, just a mob of people.
You're preaching to the choir. That was where I tried to qualify for World Championships.
Exactly. Yeah. So which was worse, New York or London?
I think New York was more crowded, but London also had the misfortune of the giant stations, the giant zones. So yeah, I mean, my time actually, if I hadn't, I ran past the wall ball station in London and then had to circle back because it was like the rowers and the ski ergs were like the furthest away, and I like ran through them and then realized I'd gone too far and came back and cut over to the wall balls. And I lost like 30 seconds or so. My time would have been fairly similar.
They didn't reset and run the last part of the race again?
I know, it's shocking. It's actually incredible that I should have basically petitioned them and been like, we should start again at the wall balls. Yeah, so no, but it was very crowded in London. And the one thing is they made the run course like the widest it had ever been, but no one was using that. Like everybody, I don't care like if you're like the slowest person out there, everybody tries to hug the rail.
Yeah.
And then the in and out points really matter too on these courses. Like, do they design it so that you're like, the smart way to design an in is to have the entrance be as you're coming off the turn, and then you kind of run in casually, and then the out should be after a turn as well. But what they've done is the in is like, it's like in the middle of a turn. It's like, so you have to like kind of hairpin into it, which is way slower.
Yeah.
And then coming out of it, you're coming out in the middle of like a straightaway where people are running like hard. So that's a mess. And I saw the one for Birmingham, and it's like the out and the in, the people will be crisscrossing each other.
Yeah.
Instead of doing it just the opposite for the in and the out, like have the in first and then the out, but it's the out first and then the in. They're next to each other. So that will be mayhem. And I hope that they just think this and just switch it. Please switch it. Like that stuff, that over the course of a race, when you're hairpinning in and out instead of coming in smooth at a dead run, I mean, that's significant time.
Oh yeah. And even just the fatigue of stop, start, essentially. Like it adds up.
Oh, I mean, that's the other thing is like the fatigue of 4-lap courses, like decelerate, reaccelerate every turn, every 70 meters or 60 meters, it really fatigues you. Yeah. It really wears you down. I felt it. That affected me in my wall balls for sure. Like I was just kind of cooked by the time I got. Plus, and this is I think another interesting perspective to think about. Like, because I'm always diving deep into like why did this feel different? The temperature in the room. They were anticipating this room is small, so they were anticipating 2,000 people in a room that was, normally you have 2,000 people in a room the size of Navy Pier, where you can do a 2-lap course. And so the HVAC system is ready to handle that. But they crammed us in for 9 hours leading up to the race, or 8 hours leading up to the race. It was 2,000 people crammed into this tiny space that was maybe a third the size of Navy Pier. And the room was like 85 degrees when we were racing. It was unbelievable. So, yeah, I mean, there's no question temperature is going to have an impact. So, look, I ran a great time. I'm actually very happy. I'm not complaining. Like I'm thrilled actually. But when we look at it from like a all things equal standpoint, like I think these are things that like are going to be ironed out over time, and people have to raise the issues in order to down the road make these things actually as even as possible.
And I do find that Hyrox does listen. They do listen. They do take into account what people like yourself, even people like me, tell them and talk to them. They might not act on everything exactly the way we want, but they do take into account. They are listening. So I think hence they did make a little change with the qualifying this year. It might not be as far as we wanted, but it's subtle.
It's a start.
It's a
great
start.
And listen, like I didn't just like the outdoor race concept. I just thought like a Northeast United States in October was probably not like the best time to do that. But like I've always kind of been a proponent, like what if you just took like an outdoor track and you just did lap, half lap.
Yeah.
And then you do your zone inside and you exit out at the 50-yard line of the opposite side of the track. And then you go lap, half lap, enter again.
Yeah.
So it's 2.5 laps on a pure running track, 8 lanes wide. You don't mind going around people in a situation like that.
Great traction.
Curves, great runnable curves. And then you put up a giant tent on the inside. So you can cover the interior. You might even be able to do it in like a dome stadium or something, which would be really freaking cool. But the idea of like, if it's covered, now you're really talking like it's kind of indoor, it's kind of outdoor, but they could do this like low budget, like just renting out like Division III facilities or whatever. Like I've been pushing for this for a while.
You could probably get them for free.
I wouldn't even mind doing it like in wet conditions, like so be it, but because the running would still be so good. Like a wet track with the right shoes is fine.
Yeah. I've been a proponent of the whole stadium track thing all the time. I even said in the beginning they should have made it 800 meters instead of 1,000, and then they would have been open for every track in the world. But that is what it is.
10 by 8,000 or 10 by 800.
There you go.
And what if you could add 2 more stations to Hyrox, what would they be?
Oh, I would like some form of pull-up. And I know it's
the exact same thing.
Difficult to judge. You might have to do a thing, but I thought either 2 things came to mind for me, like an infant pull-up bar, the rotating pull-up bars kind of deal, where you can go rotating monkey bars anyway, infinite monkey bar kind of deal, something along that lines. Or get so many reps. Or where you have like an angled pull-up bar where you have to go up a few rungs down, something like that. So form means nothing. So there's no judging of form.
Sure.
Because we all know judging is, and it's still, I know it's improved, but it's still difficult with the wall balls, and it seems to be the only spot it really comes up. But some form of pull-up thing I'd like to see. Definitely. I don't know about another one. What else I'd like to see on there?
What about like a 50-calorie assault bike?
Oh yeah, that'd be good. That, because
some people would be there all day, but
just blows people up, that bike. The only problem I have with the bike, and this is the rower, the skier, all of it, is that if one thing gets out of calibration, it could screw everybody up, right? Like those machines can often be different. Mine at home is a good 15 seconds slower than any one that I try anywhere else. Yeah. And 15 seconds per 500.
My skier is like that. My skier is like 8 seconds slow compared to my ones at the studio. Like I bought one for home, and my wife is like, why is this one so much harder?
Yeah, like I'm doing mine there, and I'm like, it's hard to row on my rower under Like to get into a 150 is a hard row, right? For me, even on that my rower at home. Then I went to Deka, and in the relay, I'm rowing 130, and I'm like, gee,
Yeah,
like
man.
it's that big a difference. So that kind of gets
when I did the team race, I was pulling like 124 for like the first 300 meters, and then I was like, oh my god, my legs are like melting. So it did catch up with me. I think that was adrenaline more than anything. But
yeah,
yeah. I mean, I could see a pull-up station.
Yes.
I do not. I mean, would they be kipping pull-ups or would they just be?
Again, that's the thing. I think you'd have to
pull-ups?
allow skipping. You'd have to, because who can judge a strict pull-up, especially in a race? I mean, they can't judge a squat.
Here's some other options.
Yeah.
Okay. Deadlifts.
I'm not bad. I'm all right with that.
Right. Deadlifts would be interesting, right? It would crush people's legs and backs and grip, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thrusters. I could see a
Love
dumbbell
thrusters.
like a dumbbell thruster station would be a really cool station. Dumbbells I think dumbbells make the most sense as opposed to
Also for safety.
Yeah, and just spatially, like there's a way more space to work with dumbbells.
Yeah.
So I could see a dumbbell station. I could see a you know what? Another carry would be like in the CrossFit games, like what they had for the Capital event, the
yoke,
the bag.
Oh no! Oh yeah, yeah.
The bag, the Husafel bag.
Yep.
Across the chest, like 150-pound Husafel bag that the men have to carry, like hugging to their chest. And it's like the size, it's like kind of like the shape of like not quite a diamond.
Yeah.
Almost like a Superman logo.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's got that. I like that. And I just thought of another one just now. I don't know if I'd do the thrusters just because that is almost the same movement as the wall balls, even though that the weight would obviously be more. But a ground to overhead. Something along that lines. Maybe even a
ground to overhead or D-ball over the shoulder, something like that.
Exactly. But like a single arm dumbbell snatch, ground to overhead, or, and I like ground to overhead because, again, you're not going to be judging full extension. It's just, does it get over your head?
Well, and that's the thing. So like these guys are from a CrossFit background. And so like when I did they did the Hyrox like virtual qualifier, when I was trying to get into the invitational, I was like, talking all this shit and like starting like viral social media campaigns and like let Magida race and like, like Hunter doesn't want Magida there, like all this stuff. Like, but then they were like, oh, we're giving away 3 spots to like the people who qualify in our virtual competition. And I was like, oh, I'll just go crush that. So I went out and like did the 2-mile run like in the snow. And then there was a couple of events. One of them was like rowing and wall balls, and I like dominated that event. And then the last event had like lunges and devil's presses and something else. And on the devil's presses, it was one arm. Yeah. And they look at my arm, how my arm is straight up right now. This is as straight as my arm goes. Yep. They said my arm was bent and these reps don't count. I was like, my arm
it don't go no straighter.
Like this. That's what it does. Yep. And so I could see the reps on snatches being like very like they've just judged them weird. And so I do like the idea of overhead. Like I don't love Deka's ram burpee because of that. Like I think you should have to extend, but judging extension is hard. Yes. So I get it. I really do. I don't know like what else you could throw in to this event. Like you could put box jumps for sure.
Yeah, something along that lines. I still like something ground to overhead and jack it up a bit.
I'm with you. I think ground to overhead and assault bike would be like the 2 that I would probably lean into the most. Or you just go really crazy and you just have like you got to do like 5 rope climbs.
Oh, I would love that. See, that would replace the pull-up. I'd be great with that. That'd be all right. 5 rope climbs would be awesome.
That's like cool because like you could do like Elijah Muhammad style where you just jump like halfway up.
That was insane when he did that.
Yeah, that's my guy right there. Elijah's my buddy.
I love that. That was great. And I also like the one they did at last year's Rogue Invitational where they had the rucksack rope climbs in it. So it just completely changed everything. I thought it was awesome. I love that. And I think they did that at Ruck Games as well. They had the rope climbs with the pack on.
And what do you think the weights would be for an over the shoulder at Hyrox? Because like Deka's like 60 pounds, 40 pounds. I could see Hyrox being like it's a 150-pound over the shoulder for men and like a 100-pound over the shoulder for women. Like I could see that. And you have to do like And Hyrox would be evil. It'd be like, you have to do 30 of these.
I don't know if they go to 150. I don't know. I don't know if they do that. I could see maybe 120 and 80 or something like that. But
I keep a 125 in my gym that I use, and I'm like, how fast can I do 20? And you do like 20 as hard as you can, and you're like, Jesus, your heart rate is like through the roof.
I do like that. And then, like I said, I mean, and I've heard a lot of people say about this with Deka too, is like, make that over the wall or over the shoulder, make that one heavier. Like, it is a little light, but that's by design.
Half the reps, double the weight, man. Let's go.
Yeah. But it's by design. That's what they wanted. They hit what they wanted to do.
I know. Yancey left me a voicemail the other day. He's like, this is the one time Deka's going to be for you, but Deka isn't for you. Deka is for everybody else. People who never run a race. People he was like, I want you to know this isn't for you. It's not about you guys. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's fair.
It is. I mean, they gotta make the money and do the masses.
Somebody's got to be the intro to fitness racing for people. If Deka wants to be the Warrior Dash of fitness racing, like, yo, be it. Sell more beer while you're there.
Yes, absolutely. Non-alcohol.
Why is there no beer? Why can I not buy beer at these events? I think
it's got to do with liquor licenses and because they're all indoors, right?
No, but so usually the food is the reason you can't get like good food at these places is because the convention centers tend to be like union or they have like strict rules about like vendors and like they have to be the vendor. But like, just have them be the vendor and sell beer. Like, I would stick around way longer after my event if I could slam a beer or two. Like, the fact is, like, I get done and I'm like, I'm so hungry and there's nothing to eat. They're like, you can have this bag of potato chips and we have water and we sell like Power Lift or like whatever the drink is that they sell. And I'm like, or that they give out. I'm like, no, like, I want to crush a beer. I want a cheeseburger. I want a Coca-Cola. I want I want to eat like shit.
I want my pizza.
I want to eat like shit because I just been like being really good all week leading up to this. I didn't get to go out on Friday night. Now I got to race at 5 p.m. on Saturday. So you basically took away Saturday night. Let me have a damn beer when I'm done.
There you go. So we fixed it.
And in Europe, that's how they have it. Like, when you race in Europe, the race is over. There's beer flowing. Like,
really?
Let's go. Yeah, Warsteiner was like one of the sponsors of Hyrox in Germany. It's great.
Oh, damn, that's great. That's the best way to do it. I would think they could do it if they do it for Spartan and stuff. They could do it for here. I think it'll work. We'll work something out.
Well, Spartan now is like, here's your Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Yeah, well, you take what you can get, I guess.
In the summer, it's like kind of refreshing. I'm not gonna like pretend I'm a hardo and I won't drink that. I will, but like,
I'm not a hardo. I drink non-alcoholic beer. I just think lemonade sucks.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
it's just not for me. But all right, I know you're on a time cap, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. I just want to ask, ready, looking forward, Atlantic City. How's your prep? You're all good to go?
I actually I'm supposed to have started prepping for it, but I kind of haven't. I've been just, I was like recovering for a few days from Hyrox, and then I've been still like, my running is such shit. Like, I'm still just trying to like get my running back, but I did like a Deka Strong sim the other day, like ice cold. I need to start like simming some of these events a little more just to be used to how they feel and breaking them down into pieces and being like, okay, like which segment of the race do I want to like focus on doing repeats of this week and stuff like that. But I did, I ran like a lot of 400 meter repeats this morning, and like I'm trying to get my foot speed up a little bit so I'm ready for Deka Fit and Deka Mile. I mean, I think I'm probably most competitive in Deka Fit and Deka Strong. I don't know. I mean, actually, I don't know. I've only run one Deka Mile. I think given how much I improved in Deka Strong from one to the next, and even from Fit from one to the next, like maybe I'll take a minute off my next Deka Mile and all of a sudden I'll be like in a podium position. Like, I think it's all possible. So I just don't, like, it's hard because you're like, they're so different. Like, how do I prepare for this? They're kind of the same, but they're really different.
I think the Fit is a lot more predictable because every time is the same. Everybody's been there. But the Deka Mile setup for this is going to be different than anyone's ever done because everybody's used to their gym Deka Mile setup. So it's all weird. So this one could be very different. And again, you're not going to have, most people do a Deka Mile. It's either like one lane, 2 lanes, maybe 4 sometimes. This is going to have like 12 lanes.
It's going to be like 12 lanes.
So it's going to be very different.
Is it going to be like, so I was talking to Rich about this, Rich Ryan. Is this like a straight out 80 meters and then like hairpin turn and straight back, or is it like a little loop? Is it going to be like a 160-meter loop, like a short track speed skating loop? Like I think
Banked
that's the exact
corners
distance they have, just like so hard. Like everyone's like leaning, like your knee is like 6 inches off the ground. You're like revving your arms trying to run these corners, or like what are they doing?
I'm thinking, and I have heard, I just don't want to put like 100% on it. I hear it's going to be an 80 out and back.
Yeah, I figured. Now that's not terrible. My run course was way worse in my qualifier, like way more turning than that. So I actually am fine with it.
Yeah, I think an 80 out and back is the best way to set it up. Most realistic.
I mean, well, yes, theoretically, what the best way to do it would be like outdoors with 160 meters between them, and you have 5 stations at each side, and then you don't have turning. That would be really cool. But
that would be cool.
The thing about the mile that I thought beat the living shit out of me the worst about it, the reason I think I felt most miserable on it was the deceleration to a dead stop, like hairpin, and reaccelerating up to speed, like takes such a physical toll on the body comparatively to like running a 500 and you're just setting up tempo.
Yeah.
It's just a really different running experience. I felt like it hurt worse.
You could do like the thermometer, you know, where you come down, have a little circle on the bottom, and then come back up, so you don't quite decelerate quite the same.
Yeah, they won't do that.
No,
they're gonna just have you. They're just gonna have you in your lane. And listen, the viewing experience is gonna be so cool. Like I think that's sweet. That's how I envisioned it was gonna be. It's just 80 out, 80 back, hit your station. 80 out, 80 back, hit your station. It may be actually a hair less than 80 out, 80 back because you're running along your stations as well. Like the stations are going to be in your lane, not spread out laterally. So they may have to play with that distance a little bit, just like the Deka fit. The first run in Deka is like longer and the runs are like supposedly shorter after the first one. But Yancey tries to explain it as like you do 19 full laps. And I was like, Yancey, it's 20 laps. Just stop confusing people. It's 20 laps.
It doesn't matter as long as it's always the same.
It doesn't matter if it's like 19.9 laps. Like it's 20 laps. Like stop confusing people.
Yeah. As long as they're all the same in each event, it doesn't matter. Because in this one, the time system does kind of work. There's the occasional one that it doesn't where you're on turf or whatever, but it does kind of work. It kind of works. So we'll take it.
This will be really fun. I'm looking forward to it. I think the problem for me is I'm doing every event, and so I'm gonna hammer the Deka fit, and then we're gonna drill the team race that night, Magida night, and then that's like okay. Then I did that, and then the next morning was training early, and I was okay, but I'm not gonna be like 100%, the next morning. And there's some guys who like just qualified for the Deka Strong the next morning, so they're gonna come in like chomping at the bit. And a couple of us are going to be like, oh, crap. Like, we got to, like, peel our bodies off the floor and, like, hope we didn't do too much damage. And then close with the mile in the evening. Like, the last event is, like, in my opinion, the most brutal one. Yeah. It's like, wow, this is You're
going to walk up to the lunges after the night before and see Ryan Corning sitting there fresh as a daisy, ready to do 17-second assault bikes. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times it took him to get the time that he got in Deka Strong.
He's done a lot.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
He's done it a lot.
Yeah.
I've done it twice. I'm within 20 seconds of him. Do I think he's unbeatable?
No. But he's good.
I don't think anybody's unbeatable in any of these events. Like, I think like the fact that I ran the way I did on like basically no run training for the Deka fit in West Palm, like I think people are a little worried about that.
Yeah.
I also think that people need to worry about Rich Ryan, because when that dude dials in his running, which he hadn't before West Palm, like he's going to be a monster. So I think there are 4 guys who are fighting for the top 3 podium spots. And it doesn't mean that that's the order that they'll finish, those 4, because what generally happens when people try to smash each other in this race is like inevitably a couple of them blow up and fall out the back of the pack and end up finishing like 8th. So, but I think it will be mayhem. Like I think Mark Gaudet will run the fastest running. Rich will be up there with the fastest running. Rylan will be probably the 3rd fastest in the running. And then like, I think myself and Ryan Kent will have the fastest stations at this Deka fit. Like, so it will be like a really interesting battle.
I think it will. I think it's definitely hard to call. And then I think when you talk about that strong, that event can come down to someone struggling with the strap on their rowing machine getting their foot out. That kind of
Totally.
little thing could be what changes it. And
I know, and that's the thing. I've been trying to practice that because that has jacked me up before.
yeah, ins and outs on the rower. I mean, it
And
could
then
be
like, you know, like over and also like just like over burning on like one station, and then you get to the assault bike and your heart rate's just like 5 beats too high and it just eats you.
yeah. And let's be realistic. The judging on the lunges is hugely important. That's where the judges probably need to be that bang on and that consistent. It doesn't matter what one does. It's what they all need to do the same. So if one of them's allowing a little bit of hop, they all need to. That's what's got to be important there. That could be so critical.
I actually don't really. I feel like it's kind of a silly rule. Like if a guy wants to
let him,
like if a guy can bang his knee off the ground and get to full extension, who the fuck cares how he does it? Like, it's more so like I think like the box step overs when like people were working the corners, like that's a bigger issue. So
they seem to have tightened that down enough. That seems to be all right.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, the last ones I've seen have been tightened down. And I'm with you with that. The lunges. If someone wants to do jumping lunges with 55 pounds in their back, go ahead. Great. You're gonna burn out really fast, and I've seen people get away with it, and every time they burn out.
Yeah, I mean, I the thing is, like, it doesn't matter. Like this race, it doesn't matter which one you do. Like they're all in exercise and in pacing. It's just an understanding of how fast can you pace it.
Yeah.
And you know, guys like Rylan have tried it a few times and mastered it, and they're really impressive athletes on top of that. And so, you know, I'd be surprised if he's not sniffing podium in all 3 events, and I'd be surprised if Kent isn't sniffing podiums in all 3 events, and I'd be surprised if I'm not sniffing podiums in all 3 events. And it doesn't mean you're going to be even anywhere near it. Like in the strong, you could be sniffing the podium and 12 seconds back, and you're like 7 places back. Like it's going to be friggin' tight. And
so fun.
You know, I think it's a more established hierarchy in the fit than probably any of the others. But again, like any of the top like 7 or 8 guys have a chance to be on that podium. I think there's a couple of guys that don't have a chance, but you know, maybe they'll prove us wrong. I don't know.
Yeah.
And like I think that anyone in this field could finish like 8th place. That just could happen.
Yeah, I think that you're exactly right. I don't think anyone can win this race that's in that field, but I do think anyone can come last. Just a matter of
I don't know if Kent's gonna come last.
He might not come last.
But like no, but I'm just saying like there's a range of like I think there are like 8 guys that could finish anywhere from like 1st or 2nd to like 8th place.
Yeah.
Like it's like they could like pop like the day of their life and be on the podium or be spit out the back. Yeah. And you know, it could easily happen to me in any of these events. And that's why like I go in like to these events like extremely confident, but also like with the understanding that like shit can go sideways.
Yeah.
And like I think a lot of people that watch this, they love to talk shit about this person or that person, or this person sucks, or you know, like whatever. And it's the reality is like, these guys are all really good athletes. Yeah. And it's fun to race each other, and we all really like each other. That's the other thing. Like none of these guys dislike each other. I'm in a fantasy football league with like Kent and Rich Ryan and Nick Riker and like a whole gang of these guys. And we just like, it's just fun to talk shit. Like the shit that we talk to each other is boys being boys. It's not like an actual thing.
No. And
so like anybody, like people like pick sides. It's like fanboys, like picking sides. And like, they think that this is like a real conflict. And like, it's like, we get out in the course. Like we want to tear each other's heads off. That's just how it is. But like, we're all drinking beers together afterward.
Yeah. And that's why it's just going to be like the biggest boys race where you guys just throw down and you know, the money's on the line, which is great, but the bragging rights are almost going to be worth more.
Yeah, man. Like I think, well, that's the thing, you know, so Kent's talking a lot of talk right now, right? Just because, you know, we're in fantasy football and he's like, you know, we're picking like who's like, if you finish last, you got to do this and that. And we had the Deka Dog 5,000, which is phenomenal. But Kent was like, well, how about if you're a Deka Fit champion, you're exempt from this? And I was like, well, you know, like I was like, Ryland's not in this league, buddy. So so, you know, it's like, it's all good, friendly, like chirping at each other. It's all fun. So like that's like what makes this such an enjoyable thing, I think, for a lot of us is like you also like, what's the point of winning if you don't get to like trash talk your buddies a little bit?
That's right. And it's gonna be
But
awesome
also
race.
lift them up and lift them
Yeah,
up too,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, they know like when you're in that competition and you have buddies you race against. I have buddies I race against. And when they beat me, I'm like, you know what? I know I made him run a good race to do it. And that's, so I still feel
Yeah.
good. Even though he beat me, I'm like, yeah, my buddy won. He beat me today. I should have won, maybe. But you still feel good because your buddy took it and he had a great race. And that's all that matters.
Well, so this is what I used to tell Hunter all the time. Like, Hunter would like finish a race and he'd be like, "Oh, these pussies! Like, I whooped all your asses. You all suck. Just go fucking quit. Like, you suck." And we're like, "Oh, cool, man. Like, so we're all shit. Like, so congratulations, you're king of the shit. Like, great. Like, it's not an accomplishment unless you beat somebody worth beating, and that's the reality. And that's how I think everybody is like kind of approaching this. And I think we're also approaching this from the standpoint of like, yeah, Deka Fit, like we're legitimately good. And Deka Mile, maybe we're legitimately good, but like Rich and I talked about, like, I think we're all actually trash at Deka Strong, and it's just a matter of like some really, really serious athletes coming in for that specific event, and they'll wipe the floor with our little running asses. Like we are good at running and compromised running, and like we are really strong for runners, but like when you take away the running, like there are lots of guys that will beat us.
Yeah, and even Corning. I mean, Corning's great. Kevin Gregory's really great. That's good. But there's going to be guys that eventually find this that are going to make them look standing still. That like, especially people who specialize in that rower, that bike, and that skier who can really lay down time on those. It'll be something.
There's the guy who qualified like second overall is like a mountain bike instructor or something.
Yeah.
So he just like, what he's doing. He's rowing hard. He's not getting crushed by it. And then he's getting to the ski erg and he's working hard there. And then he's getting to the assault bike and he's probably just laying it down, just ripping it. And the thing is, it's not just what he can output. It's that it doesn't hurt him.
Yeah. What he has left after get through the tank and the over the shoulders, but mostly the tank and the burpees after is what really saps you. So if you got gas left there, like that's where that race is. It's after that bike. It's how you go after that bike.
The race is like, it's all kind of like nimbly pimbly until we get to like the ski erg. And then you're like, okay, let's get to work. Like, let's actually get to work. And then when you get to the assault bike, it's like, okay, this is where like it goes sideways. Like, this is where like you start seeing stars and blacking out a little bit. It's like you come off that assault bike and you're like you get to like the sled and you're just, you're like, oh, now it's dig in and guts. So I got my bell rung by my second Deka Strong, and I got my bell rung by first Deka Mile, and now I'm gonna get some practice reps in. So
awesome, buddy. Well, thanks very much for doing this. I really appreciate it. We will be streaming the Strong, the Mile, and the Fit from Atlantic City, so you can watch it all. I bypassed on my entry, which I had, but I let it go, and so I'll stream it instead, but.
Well, you're going to be the host of the stream? Is that the plan?
Yeah. Not a lot of details aren't worked out, but I guarantee I will be streaming it somehow, one way or the other.
I put in a good word for you on that, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted you to be the host. I think you've done an excellent job with the opportunities that you've had, and it's very professional and it's well done. And from one broadcaster to another, I want to say good work, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. All right, bud. We'll see you out there. Can't wait.
See you out there.